Hey y'all, and welcome to the video for today. It's going to be a news video. So we have the 2025 6.7 Cummins engine changes, and I wanted to go through the changes and what my opinion is on each of the changes, and just make a few remarks. And then I want to go into my wish list for a future Cummins iteration on the Ram trucks as well. So the news has been out for a few days. There's a bunch of YouTube videos already out there about it. Kind of wanted to do my own segment on it. And so first thing I noticed was no more grid heater. That's a big one. The Cummins has used a grid heater for a long time. This is my 09 6.7 Cummins, and my 03 I have a 5.9 Cummins. Both have grid heaters, although they're a little different. The grid heater is going away, I would say probably because of the bolt issue, but I would have rather seen them fix the design issue with that bolt. So the bolt can work its way loose, it can drop down in the cylinder and cause catastrophic damage. Hasn't happened to me, but it's not a nice thing to have happen. They're going to be going to glow plugs, which is going to be just like so many other diesels out there. So that'll be interesting. Not sure how I feel about that one. I'm kind of neutral about it. From performance perspective, I don't think so. I think the grid heater is a very minimal drop in the bucket, air resistance coming through your intake manifold. I don't think it has anything to do with performance. The next thing is no more CGI blocks. So they came out with the CGI block in 2019. It saved a lot of weight. I thought it was a pretty good idea. I haven't heard any trouble. Sorry, gnats are killing me out here. Haven't heard any trouble with the CGI block, but after hearing that they're going back to the standard block, I'm like thinking in my mind, having flashbacks about 53 blocks on like 2000 model year second gens. Remember those 53 blocks? I haven't heard any kind of horror stories like that, but I definitely got me thinking in the back of my mind. So I'm neutral on going back to the old block. New turbo, there's going to be a new turbo. It's going to have higher rating. What are they doing with the turbo? I don't know, because they're not really increasing power output for this model year. So we're getting a turbo that's presumably bigger. And I'm thinking maybe it's emissions related. Maybe maybe this turbo spools better at low RPMs, can reduce, make the cleaner burn for emissions, possibly. Not sure. Also heard, now that I jogs my mind, about the electric heater in the DPF. I wonder what that's going to be like. Could be interesting. I do like the idea of reducing regens, but I'm not sure about the idea of adding more complexity and more electronics to the vehicle. So kind of neutral on that one. Not related to the engine, but I wanted to mention about the 8-speed transmission. Great move. I'm happy with the move. It's going to be a standard transmission. They're going to have the high output power numbers on all the models, including the 2500s. I think that's a big thumbs up on both fronts. Did we really need an 8-speed, though? The Cummins, it's been really good with fairly minimal gear shifting. It's one of my favorite things. This is a manual trans, but I have an automatic 5.9 Cummins, and it's got a 4-speed auto in it, and I love the 4-speed for daily driving, and I love that there's not a whole lot of shifting going on, and that the Cummins doesn't really care. Doesn't really need to downshift much at all. Ram was not competing with Ford and GM on fuel mileage in these last few model years. I've seen some pretty decent fuel mileage numbers out of the GMs with the 10-speed, and I'm like, well, if the Ram had an 8-speed or a 9 or a 10, it would probably get good fuel mileage. Cummins used to be the leader in fuel mileage in this segment. So I think the 8-speed is going to help out. It's going to improve the towing experience too. I think it's going to be a smooth transmission, and it's a proper medium duty transmission too. I'm glad that we are not going to have the 68 RFE anymore. And the Ison was really good. I think the Ison is going to be missed, but I think the ZF is going to be capable to replace the Ison. So all in all, I'm pretty pleased with the 8-speed announcement. I'm glad they didn't do a 10-speed. So that's where I was getting with all the gear shifting. I'm glad they didn't do a 10-speed. I don't think the Cummins needs that. the torque curve is so dang flat on these trucks. I don't think we need all the shifting. What else do we got? So the injection pump resembles a CP4, but it's not going to be a CP4. So I am not worried right now that they're bringing back the CP4. That's not what they're doing. It does look like a CP4, but I think it's going to be a CP8 or something else. It looks like one, but it's something different. So interesting. I love the CP3 though. The CP3 proved it was capable even in the latest model trucks with all the power output that they have. Even those the 1,075 pound-foot torque, still CP3 able to handle it. Always impressed with the CP3. It will be missed. This new one I have high hopes for. Not too worried that it's going to be another CP4. And then hydraulic lifters are staying apparently. I hate that one. I was skeptical of hydraulic lifters from the beginning. I want to see a flat tappet setup come back, and well, that would bring me to my list for future Cummins engines. I don't like the hydraulic lifters. The problems are going to cause, I think, reputation damage. It's going to tarnish the reputation of the engine, I think. This hydraulic lifter issue. Just too many issues going on. We'll just fix the design issue, and whatnot. I don't think so. Originally, I thought I liked the idea, no valve adjustments necessary. I like that. But that's all I like. I prefer the flat tappet, solid lifter design. And then I mentioned about power output. The power is going to be basically the same, although no more standard output. So everybody gets high output, including the 3/4 tons. You're going to gain 10 horsepower to 430. You're going to have 1,075 pound-feet of torque. I'm okay with not going crazy on the power numbers. They probably could put out 1,200 pound-foot of torque, especially out of the Cummins. It just naturally builds torque nicely. But they decided, nah, we're not going to do it. And that rounds out my list. So how about the wish list for a future Cummins engine? And some people thought we might see a new engine for this model year as well. What's kind of interesting is they made a lot of significant changes for this 2025 model year. It's like, why would they make so many changes if a new engine was close? So that makes me think we might not see a new engine for a few more model years, but there will be more restrictive emissions regulations in future years. I think it's, 2027 or 28. So that would be my guess as to when we might see a new engine. So what would be on my wish list? Cummins is said to be developing a 7.2 liter engine. This is great. I was saying this before any of the news was out. I'd like to see a little bit more displacement, a little over 7 liters. And the displacement can actually have some help with emissions. It probably has something to do with cylinder temperature and nitrous oxide emissions from that. So larger displacement apparently can help. So I'm fine with that. I think we could use the larger displacement, especially if they want to push for 1,200 pound-feet of torque on the next engine and above. So that's first thing on my list, was a little larger displacement. They didn't do anything huge. And then no hydraulic lifters. I want the flat tappet. Flat tappet, bring it back. I basically want an engine that's kind of like the old 6.7s, except beefier and focused heavily on the reliability front, which brings me to my next wish list item, a reliable tune. I know out of that 7.2 liter, they could probably make it 500 horsepower and 1,400 pound-feet of torque if they wanted. But that's not what I think we need. I think we need something that's basically well below what it's capable of. Somewhere, I know they probably won't lower the power over what they're doing now, but I would be personally happy if they had like a 400 horse, 1,200 torque engine with like a 2,700 RPM red line that was just built to pull like a big rig pulls to an extent. even more so than the current trucks, and be well below its capability. So I want it to be reliable with good power, but reliable. And then the exhaust manifolds, too many cracked exhaust manifolds on 6.7 trucks that do a lot of towing day in and day out for hundreds of thousands of miles, and then they get cracked exhaust manifolds. I'd like to see them beef up the exhaust manifolds. And then I would like to see them get rid of the EGR, have an EGR-less engine, and I think it's possible to do. You would just use the after treatment, the SCR, the DEF fluid, to take care of all the nitrous oxides. And then you got your bigger engine that's naturally producing less nitrous oxides. I think it's doable, and it'd be a huge selling point. You're going to reduce the complexity under the hood. You're going to reduce the expense for the manufacturer. You know, it's less parts. You're going to take stress off the cooling system. You're going to reduce a little bit of weight. You're going to have a few electrical plugs that you don't need anymore. And you're just going to have a clean looking engine bay that just still looks very easy to work on the trucks, which is not something you find on basically any vehicle that's modern. So I would be very receptive to cleaning that up under the hood and making the truck simpler and more reliable. And then also, without the EGR, no more exhaust gas being recirculated, no more soot contamination from that in your oil. You'll probably have cleaner oil. You'll probably have a happier and healthier engine. So those would be my wish list items for a future Cummins engine. So we are now 14 minutes in. Going to cut it off there. If y'all like the news and discussion style videos, I can try and make more videos like this, so let me know. And let me know what y'all think you might like to see on a future Cummins Ram as well, and what you think about my ideas. So with that said, y'all have a good one. See you next time.